At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The following audio contains the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope these stories inspire you to continue your journey with or join Optavia, but please note they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the US or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with Optavia. Additionally, this audio may contain income or earning representations of some independent Optavia coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with Optavia is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Optavia acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to Optavia coaches in the US, Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent Optavia coaches operating in the US, please see the Optavia Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of US coaches under the US Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent Optavia coaches operating in the US under the US Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in Health, the Optavia team.
My name's Dawn Fisher, and I am excited and honored to be your host this evening. 11 years ago, I started my journey, just like many of you. I was working full-time as a nurse. I was stressed out. I was spending a long time away from my family, and I was getting overweight and needing help with my health. And wouldn't you know, in came this amazing, beautiful community. And so tonight, what we're going to really be diving into is, like I said, Element 22, creating optimal well-being in your life. And you know, really, this topic is so key. This is where you're going to anchor your journey. So if you are ready to tap into more success and more fulfillment in your overall life, then this topic is for you. So before we dive in though, I want to know who is with us tonight, who is tuning in. So if you're on live, I want you to go ahead and put your best answer that describes you in the chat. So for all of you that are our coaches, I want to just welcome you. This is part of your community time. We have US independent health coaches, and then we also have coaches from Hong Kong and Singapore. So go ahead and pop that in if that is what best describes you. And if you are a client, I just want you to know we love you. We are so excited that you're here for us, and we want to thank you for trusting us and guiding you along your journey. And you know what? Congratulations for showing up and doing the work on your health and your life. And then if you're a guest, we're honored that you decided to join us and want to let you know that someone cares a lot about you to have invited you onto this call and this community time with us. So if you're listening to the playback or the podcast or any of the above, just get ready for the next 30 minutes because we are going to dive in and take a look at Element 22 in the Life Book. All right, you guys, the Habits of Health Transformation System. So for those of you, I guess I have to take this poll too. There we go. Otherwise it won't pop down. Yay. Okay. So this Habits of Health Transformational System is a game changer. And for those of you that are diving into these tools, you know how pivotal it can be. So tonight we're going to be going over the Life Book, but I want you to know that this is what makes our community and our program so different because we are not a diet. This is about small micro habits that you can implement into your life daily that is going to help you change your mindset. And so we're going to really dive in and help each other today. And we're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about really understanding the value of success and fulfillment. We are going to give you the skill set to learn how to define what really matters most to you. And then we are going to actually give you some action steps this evening so that you can understand where you are in your life as far as fulfilled and successful. And we're going to give you the tools on how to rewrite your story so that you can really, truly live a life that is to your heart's desire in success and fulfillment. So if you turn to page 473 of your Habits of Health book, the second edition, you're going to find this quote from Dr. Anderson. And it says, living a fulfilling life not only satisfies us emotionally, it also has the power to make us more physically vibrant. In fact, without fulfillment, we can't achieve optimal health. I'm going to sit with that for a second. Without fulfillment, it is an uphill battle to achieving optimal health. He also shares in this section of the Habits of Health book that for the first time in history, this generation of children is ranking their quality of life lower than the previous generations. And, you know, I was a nurse for 15 years and that breaks my heart. I also have a daughter who's 9 years old and that breaks my heart. So what's happening in the world is that people are uncertain. We're overworked, we're undervalued, we're overstressed, and we're getting to be overweight and sicker than we've ever been before. And maybe you're in this category. But what we want to do is really help you shift, take control of your life, use the tools that we have in our amazing community and that you have in your hands to actually implement the tools and rewrite your story and move forward. So this is part of what is causing this sort of dysfunction in society in the world today. It's that the world seems to define success with extrinsic motivations. So the world defines success by how attractive you are, how much fame you have, how known are you, what kind of car do you drive, what kind of house do you live in, what's your income, what kind of neighborhood, what's your status. The world today is so preoccupied with stuff that we've lost sight of what actually matters. We've lost sight of the very things that help us move to optimal well-being. And if you're, you know, in that category, it's okay. The world is bombarding you with all kinds of cues and triggers everywhere you look, whether you're looking at the TV and it's on the commercials or it's your smartphone, and our kids are getting a hold of that stuff too. So they're getting this warped view of what success looks like. And, you know, we all seek those things because we're seeking to be happier. We're seeking to be more secure. And that's understandable, but those things don't work. They're not going to lead you to actual success. So I want to also stop for a minute and show you, this is what we define fulfillment as. So fulfillment is where you actually can align your mind and your heart's desires. And when you do that, that's where you're going to really experience the quality of your life moving forward. And so we define fulfillment as having satisfactory personal relationships, not even just satisfying, but amazing, beautiful, fulfilling, joyful personal relationships with our family, with our community members, with our peers and coworkers, and also growing as an individual, as a human being. Are you growing and personally developing, right? And then are we making contributions in the community? Are we leaving a legacy? Those are all things that contribute to how we define fulfillment. And so I'm really excited to bring on a dear friend, health coach that I've worked with for, almost 7 years, Michelle Luters, because this evening we're going to be walking you through an exercise where you get to actually pause for a moment and look at where are you on this continuum. And Michelle has been doing this. She has been with our community and as a client and as a coach for almost 7 years. And she has walked through the journey. She's diving into her life book and she's rewritten her story. And so she's going to come off mute and she's going to go through that with us and take us on a little journey. And hopefully you'll see pieces of that journey that resonate with you. And so we're going to go through that exercise with you. So Michelle, my dear, are you with us?
I am. Thank you so much, Dawn. Thanks for having me on. As Dawn mentioned, my name is Michelle Luters, and I'm an independent certified Optavia coach. I've been coaching for 7 years this January, and also I am a third grade teacher, and I've been teaching for 20 years. And for many, many years, up until more recently, I have felt very burned out. I have been stressed. I needed a change. I knew that I loved teaching. I was happy teaching. I loved changing children's lives, but I wasn't totally fulfilled. Something was missing. And along came Optavia 7 years ago. I was introduced to Optavia by my sister. And at first it was just a diet. I was starting another diet. And little did I know how my life was going to change, how it was going to create a community for me, how it was going to create a ton of accountability for me. I was going to not just change a healthy body, but I was going to start creating, thanks to the Life Book and Dr. A's Habits of Health system, a healthy mindset. And then I decided to start coaching, because becoming a coach was kind of just the next step for me. People started asking. I was like, why don't I just coach a couple of people to make a little bit of money to pay for my fuelings and help myself stay more accountable? And I had no idea where that this would bring me. So when Dawn talks about the success versus fulfillment, success, I was feeling attractive. I was down 30 pounds. I was doing well, but I still was dirt poor as a 20-year teacher with a master. Well, it wasn't 20 years then, but with a master's degree. I still was not fulfilled. Fulfillment to me was what my relationships started changing. My friendships started changing. I started changing, and I started growing. And so now you can see by some of the pictures that Dawn's going to put up that I want to talk a little bit about how fulfilled we are. And this is what fulfills me. So in the first picture, those are little dandelions, but I don't call them that. They're not weeds to me. They're wish flowers. Every time I see one of those, I grab it and make a wish, because I started dreaming again a couple years ago, dreams that I've never thought were possible. I was in a very unhealthy relationship. I had unhealthy friendships. In the middle is now my fiance, Greg. We got engaged last December. Should have been married last month, but had to postpone that. But I worked on me. Optavia helped me find who I was. And I was able to open up myself to falling in love with Greg and starting new relationships where I was in a bad place and that wasn't going to happen. The top right is my friends and I in Leavenworth, which is my happy place that we love to go and start dreaming about having a second home someday. And then the bottom is really the community piece. Those are two of my dearest friends. We are at a retreat for Optavia together, and that's where we spend the quality time and learn to grow as individuals. And so this element that we're talking about, success, fulfillment, kind of overall well-being, I've begun to start to experience all of those things. So now I want you to take a look at this failure versus success continuum. Where would you say that you are on this continuum? Are you happy? Are you doing what you really want to do? Are you financially successful? Can you do all the things that you want? So failure and success are some pretty heavy words, right? And like Dawn mentioned, the world says that success is defined by all those external factors: your finances, your place in the community, your job, your house, your car. We are told that this is what we need to have to be happy. And none of us are complete failures, right? But maybe none of us are probably where we fully want to be yet. But you guys, we get to define what success really is. We get to define our own levels of success. We shouldn't let the world tell us what success is, right? Yeah, we need money for food, but are you working in a profession that you're proud of? Do you have a reliable car? Doesn't have to be the best car. Do you have a reliable car? Are you able to save some money for retirement or to help your kids pay for college? Are you in the house that you want to retire in? Where would you place yourself right now compared to where you want to be on this continuum? So just think about that for a second. And now let's take a look at the depression versus fulfillment continuum. If we just use those factors that I talked about to determine how successful and happy we are, it's not going to work. We always want more. We always think we want more money, a bigger house, a better car. That's not really what makes us happy, right? So that's not a true, for me, depiction of what success is. It's not going to be long-term. It's really about how fulfilled we are. All those intrinsic motivators, our inner purpose. Extrinsically, like I said, we always seem to want more. But intrinsic motivation, that creates well-being and joy of fulfillment. So on a daily basis, looking at this continuum, how fulfilled are you? on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being very happy, you're doing what you want. I was a 3 for a very long time. I was there for many, many years. I was working really, really hard, but I was depressed. I know a lot of us are going through some hard times right now. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you know some people yourself or some people you know are sick. Maybe you're not able to spend time with your family like you want to. But just know that we fluctuate through our life on this continuum. We don't have to stay at the same place. And Dawn and I are going to show you some ways that you can move up that continuum. So now we have a poll. And I want you to put these two continuums together and tell us where you are on this well-being chart. Which quadrant are you in right now? Are you in thriving, where you feel very fulfilled and successful? Are you in contented, or you're fulfilled but failing at something? Are you worn out? You're successful but you're depressed? Or are you just flat out burned out right now, where you're depressed and you're failing? So look at your current reality in these two dimensions, putting them both together. It allows you to see if what you're doing in life is in alignment with what really matters most to you. So when I look at this, I really think about myself. I started up in that top left. I was contented. I was a brand new teacher. I was excited, but I was in serious debt. I had serious credit card debt. I had college debt. I had just bought a condo. And then I moved down to burned out. After maybe 5-10 years of teaching, it was not what I signed up for. Things had changed. Kids had changed. Families had changed. Everything had changed. Teaching was not the same. I was tired and I was living paycheck to paycheck. I had my master's degree. I couldn't get out of debt. And then I moved over in the continuum to worn out. Now I was teaching and I found Optavia. So I was being a health coach at the same time. So I felt like I was always working because I was trying to build my Optavia business while still teaching. And I had no time for my family at all. I was single. I was just getting out of a bad relationship and I was still in serious debt. But now I am so thankful for Optavia, the community, the support, the life book, everything, because now I am in that top right. I haven't taught in 4 months. I'm able to focus on the hobbies that I love, the things that really bring me joy, which if anything I've learned from COVID is my family. I have time for my family again. I'm diving into the life book all the time, which is helping me on my mental mindset. I've gotten a bad place, not because of COVID, but because of family things the past few months. And it is the community and the life book are getting me out of that. I'm more successful than I've ever been. And to me, success is not money. To me, success is that I can do the things I love from wherever I want to do them. And I'm happy. I have time freedom. And for once in my life, I am completely out of debt because of the choices that I've made. So looking at that, where are you? One thing I wanted to share in Dr. Anderson's Habits of Health book in section 2.16, a author, Richard Leader, did an interview. And he asked some people that were towards the end of their life, he asked, if you could live your life over again, what would you change? Their responses were pay more attention to the big picture, take more risks, have a job that's more meaningful, be more courageous as a better friend, parent, sons, daughter, leave a legacy. They all wanted to connect with what really mattered in the fabric of everyday life. That was their highest priority. Not one person that was interviewed said that they wanted a bigger house, a better car, or more money. None of them. So Dawn, let's take a look at the results and let's see what our viewers. So a lot of them, so contented. A lot of them feel that they're fulfilled, but something's missing. They're failing at something. And yes, I was right there. And I get that. That's where I started before this community, before all of this amazing support. That is exactly where I started. And just know, everyone, that the thriving when it comes down to finding a balance and creating life around what matters most to you, that's the quadrant. That's thriving. That signifies abundance. doing something you love that fills my bucket every day now. I have time for my family. I'm out of those bad relationships and I respond so much better thanks to the life book. But Dawn, yeah, look at these results.
Yeah, it's actually quite significant, Michelle. You know, there's a big gap between the other quadrants and contented, like 46% are in the
Almost half.
Yep, almost half. Actually, I don't know if it's possible if we can get the poll back up again. I'll read the percentages off again. We may not be able to get it back up, but almost half were in that contented. And then it was a big drop. Oh, it's back up again. The magician's behind the scene. I love it. So we have 46% in the contented category, only 18%, but congratulations to the 18 that are in the thriving quadrant. And then we bump down to the worn out quadrant. That's the second biggest quadrant where most people are. It's 26%. Okay.
That doesn't surprise me right now, right? With everything
with
around us, but we can help.
All the things going on around us. And then the burned out category, I'm really grateful and thankful to believe. And you know what? I think that it's because we have a lot of clients, a lot of coaches, a lot of people who are in the process diving into these tools, but only 10% of you guys are burned out. So grateful that that's such a small number, but also my heart breaks for those of you that are there. So just know we're going to be walking through some tools. And if you aren't diving into these materials, if you haven't cracked open the life book, if you haven't touched on element 4 and element 22 about how to respond to the extraneous things going on around us and how to really rewrite your story, dive in there. Okay. So thank you guys for all participating in the poll. And Michelle, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and transparent and taking us on a walk through your journey. That was quite amazing. You guys pop in the chat, give Michelle some love. She just walked us through the last like 6-7 years of her life and how she's been on this journey. And it is a journey, you guys. It doesn't happen overnight. We don't end up in the contented or burned out space overnight. And it is a process and a day-by-day micro habits and diving into this material hand in hand with your health coach guiding you that's going to help walk you out of it and through it. But let's talk about what are you doing to find fulfillment and success? Michelle mentioned a study that's on page 462 of Dr. A's Habits of Health book. And Richard Leider spent 20 years doing that research, interviewing people at the end of their life. And like she said, not one of them wanted a better car or more money in the bank account when they were in their final days. They wanted more meaningful relationships, more impactful, like their impact in the world being more impactful. They wanted to have taken more risks, to have been more courageous, and to have really spent time on what mattered most to them. So let's not wait till the final days of our lives to start living in that way. Let's do it now because we have the tools and you have the support and you have the community. So we're going to really focus on assisting you to find out what really matters. Okay. So here's some final tips. If you're wanting to see that continuum raise to where you're not in the contented category, but you're moving more up towards the thriving, here's some things that you can do right now. You can follow your passions. I saw in the chat that there were a few people saying that they really, really wanted to work on their relationships. If you dive into the chapters in the Habits of Health book, Dr. A talks about how to improve your relationships. He talks about, how you can just leave little love notes, for your spouse or even for your children, but follow your passions, find things that you love. I know Michelle, one of her passions, not only is her family, which she now gets to spend more time with, but she is out hiking. I see pictures of her out in the mountains. I mean, weekly. I know she doesn't miss a spin class when the spin gym's open. I know that she is doing things that matter most to her and she is loving it. Take up a new hobby, try a new sport, or an adventure or a craft. I know there's a picture here. For those of you that aren't on live with us, there's a picture of someone knitting. I mean, knitting might not be my jam, but it might be one of yours. And reading, There's so many things. And if you're not sure what new hobby you might enjoy, ask your friends and maybe they can introduce you to one that they love. But that's one thing you can do. Enjoy the arts. You might not be able to go out to a concert or go out to something right now, but you could pick up an instrument, try a virtual class, get together with someone, start painting, just explore. Now's a time in our lives we get to really explore and have some fun. You could think about adding in some supplemental income. One of the huge reasons that Michelle was down in that sort of depressed, less than successful category was that she was in debt and she didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. And part of what helped her move through that was her love for paying health forward, that she started this program thinking she was going to drop some weight and just feel better. And she found a passion and a purpose and a mission, and she just dove in and helped one person at a time. Maybe that's something that you're interested in. Maybe you've got people noticing. Stick around for the next 30 minutes if you're on live with us, because we're going to be sharing some stories about people who, just like Michelle, just like me, just like you, had people noticing and decided to pay it forward. Because that is a huge part, if you listen to Michelle's story, of what she's talking about that brings her into that thriving category, is that she now has relationships that matter. She has the time to spend with the people that she loves, and she's doing something every day that brings value to her life. So also take stock of your own healthy relationships. So take a moment and just think about that. And if you're at a point where you can pull out a piece of paper, write down the things that matter most to you. Write down what passions or hobbies or things that just are speaking to you right now. And that is going to be what we do next, which is actually put it in the chat. Okay. So I want you to think about, what are those things? What are the actions that you're going to take? We're bringing it back to you now, back to how this is going to impact your life. Okay. At the end of element 22, it actually asks you this question, and you get to write it down in your life book. So if you've got your life book handy, pull that out right now and start jotting some things down. What are some things that you're going to start doing? What are some things that are going to fill your cup? What are some things that aren't serving you that maybe you want to cut out? Maybe watching too much news, maybe being on electronic devices too much, maybe the negative self-talk, maybe the keeping up with the Joneses, what are other people doing? Maybe that's robbing you of joy, and it's keeping you out of that fulfilled and thriving quadrant. So what doesn't have place in your life anymore? And then write that down too. And you know what I'm going to invite you to do is take a screenshot. So not only sharing it in the chat, Michelle, what are a couple things people are sharing in the chat? Because when I'm talking, I can't see the chat. And I would love for the people that are listening to the playback or listening to the podcast, or even just on audio right now, to be able to hear what some of the people are sharing in the chat.
Yeah, they're moving so fast. They're amazing. Want to spend more time in an animal rescue, learn a new language, start my morning with a workout and with the Lord instead of social media. Continue to coach and lift my clients up and build my business. I'm going on a full moon paddle with my husband.
Ooh.
I don't know. That sounds pretty good. I bet it will be good. Travel when it's safe. Learn more to play a piano. I mean, it is. It's taking up something that we've never done before. I feel like with anything with COVID, I've learned to slow down. I've learned to slow down and learn to spend time with those that I love again, and start new things that I've never thought were possible. And so, yeah, there's a lot of great things in here. Redesigning a bedroom in the house, being creative again, more time with family.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you guys, everyone who's on live, for participating. We love interaction in these calls. And what I want you guys to do, and if you're listening to the playback or you're listening to the podcast or the recording, I want you to do this too. Write down the action that you're going to start taking, and even a few things that maybe don't have space in your life anymore. And I want you to take a screenshot and send it over to your health coach so that they can come alongside you and they can guide you and they can cheer you on, and that you know you're not alone. And one thing that I know is something that we think is just a dream in our heads. Okay. If we write it down and we share it with someone else, you are incredibly more likely to actually achieve that. And we want you all to achieve success and fulfillment in your life. All right, guys, last poll. You know we love our polls around here. All right, this is where you get to put it back to Michelle and I, and you get to actually let us know how you enjoyed this community time. I want to thank Michelle for being so vulnerable and walking us through her story, taking us on that little journey. I hope that that was valuable for you guys, but please let us know how you enjoyed this. We are always seeking to improve. So, was it excellent? Did you love it? Did we nail it? Did we speak to you and somehow help you move the dial forward in your life? Was it good? Very good? Was it just good? Was it below average? Michelle and I could be a little bit more interesting and funny, I know. Or did we just miss the mark? It's okay. This is an anonymous poll. So feel free, answer it exactly how you feel. You know, Michelle, I think we were pretty excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and mark mine.
I think so too. But we can
Cast my vote
if we need to. We're pretty good with the Dawn and Michelle show.
I agree. So, you know, thank you, Michelle, for walking us through that. And again, we are all more alike than we are different. So I know I definitely resonated with a lot in Michelle's story, and I'm sure that many of you did. So, all right, you guys, as we're wrapping up, I want to just remind you of the many, many resources that you have just by being part of this awesome community. We have our Optavia YouTube playlist, which this call is going to be on in a few days. And so what you can do is you can go to that and you can just click subscribe so that every time a new video is posted, you're notified and you can easily go there and listen to the things. What I love is that you can go to this YouTube playlist and scroll through and find what matters to you and actually listen to like a 30-minute podcast or recording right there. Also our podcast channel, which is great because I like to do things and kind of make my car my university, or my house my university, put earbuds in while I'm doing laundry or washing the dishes, or, you know, maybe when you're driving, or maybe even when you're at your day job and you know, can multitask and do a couple things. But this Optavia Habits of Health podcasts is there for you, and you can download those and listen to them at any time. And then finally, make sure that you're opted in to the text. I am a big fan of making things easy and automated. And did you know that if you're opted in to Optavia 30 and you just text that to 99000, you will get a little reminder each week just before the call, and it will have you pop in, just one touch from your phone, and you can pop into these calls. So that's there for you. And then last but not least, do not forget to join us for next week's community time. It is going to be an absolutely amazing topic. It's called Designing Your Health and Fitness Plan, and it's hosted by my friend Susan Pallas, and she's incredible. So you will not want to miss that. So put that in your reminder, opt in so you get the reminder for that text.
At Optavia, our mission is to offer the world lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. The prior audio contained the personal testimonials of independent coaches and clients within the Optavia community. Their results are based on the unique experiences of their journey. We cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. We hope those stories inspire you to continue your journey with or to consider joining Optavia. But please note that they have not been verified and your individual journey to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you speak with a healthcare provider in the U.S. or a doctor in Singapore and Hong Kong prior to beginning your journey with Optavia. Additionally, this audio may have contained income or earning representations of some independent Optavia coaches. We cannot guarantee financial success. Success with Optavia is derived from successful sales efforts, which require hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Optavia acknowledges that this audio may be accessible to Optavia coaches in the U.S., Hong Kong, and Singapore. For independent Optavia coaches operating in the U.S., please see the Optavia Income Disclosure Statement for statistics on actual earnings of U.S. coaches under the U.S. Compensation Plan. Please note that the Income Disclosure Statement only applies to independent Optavia coaches operating in the U.S. under the U.S. Compensation Plan and does not in any way constitute any representations as to actual or potential accrual of benefits for Hong Kong or Singapore coaches under the International Compensation Plan. Yours in health, the Optavia team.